The world economy has certainly started the year in much quieter waters than has been the case in previous years. And this is thanks to all the reforms that have been implemented under the impulse of central banks and national governments to make the economy more resilient to changes. So thanks to this increased resilience that the world economy has gained thanks to the past efforts, we believe that growth should strengthen progressively from the meager 2.5% we saw last year to 3.3%, or moving up nearly to 3.8% in 2015. Now, these are forecasts which, of course, reflect things that would happen barring unexpected changes. And clearly, we have seen in past years that there are really a lot of things that can happen and difficult to anticipate. So I would classify those unexpected changes in two categories. One of these would be foreseeable risks. These are changes, factors that could happen that we see coming. We see the roots, the seeds of those, and we can mention, for example, rising commodity prices. Because we expect the world economy to strengthen, there will be pressure on commodity prices that could create tensions and cause cost increases and competitiveness changes for many companies. Other foreseeable changes could be related to the austerity fatigue that we see in many countries given years of tight fiscal policies. And that could cause consumers to become even more cautious than what we see in the standard forecast. Now, in addition to these, what I call foreseeable risks, there are also always a number of totally unexpected risks. The second type of risk are the totally unexpected risks. So this would include it would include factors such as major climatic events, terrorism attacks, other factors that are really totally unforeseeable today, but that could nevertheless make a big difference in markets in future years. By definition, these unexpected risks are really impossible to predict. So it is important for companies, because they exist nevertheless, to make a list of those factors that could really dramatically impact their business and try to measure to what extent these are really relevant for their activities. And these analyses, which one could do through scenario analysis, are all the more relevant nowadays than they were maybe 10 years ago, because the crisis that we have gone through in the past 4 or 5 years has really altered behaviors. Consumers are much more cautious. They are probably they spend cautiously. They are less likely to ask credit to the banks as easily as they would before. So all of this has consequences for financial markets. It could create pockets of liquidity, and the risk of volatility that results from that is higher. For companies, they also have changed their behavior quite significantly since the crisis. They have become more cautious to avoid building up inventories, and so they run much leaner operations and have externalized a whole set of activities that usually used to be within the organization. So what this implies is that when demand goes up, as we are presently foreseeing an increase in demand. When demand goes up, in the past, it would just be a question of switching on some more machinery and increasing production runs. Given the changes that have taken place in past years, companies now actually have to ask their subcontractors to increase the production runs, and they themselves have to ask other subcontractors to increase production. So there are potentially some delays in adjustment that can discourage demand or lead to inroads by competitors. So all this is adding to the volatility and creating some caution for the economists that has to be taken care of.